Welcome to the Stones of Strength podcast, an audio plinth upon which we will endeavor to centralize and showcase stories and information related to the lifting of historical and non-historical stones and the ongoing development and re-emergence of stone lifting culture. Welcome to episode 25 of the Stones of Strength podcast, where we had a fantastic chat with Liam Brown. Now, Liam is such an awesome, enthusiastic, nice guy, and he's become such a prolific, proficient, and efficient stone lifter in a very, very short period. And so it was great to talk to him about his entry to stone lifting and how he's advanced to be such an incredibly strong person in such a short amount of time and an incredibly strong lifter. Something else too, if you're watching this, you might notice that we're probably wearing different clothes than we did when we talked to Liam. We didn't do a wardrobe change. We always record these intros after the fact because we have very narrow windows within which we can record the episodes just because of scheduling and work and family and life and things like that.
Well, especially when people are across the world as well,
For
right?
sure.
That changes that big
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. We try to accommodate. So if it's night their time, we find a slot during the day our time to make it work. So, but anyways, all that goes to say is we're now going to record video for our intros just to try to continue to improve the quality of the podcast and make this offering a little better for those who choose to consume it on YouTube. So
Consume us.
consume. Please do from a distance. Something else for this episode that's going to be new is our first iteration of what we're calling Community Corner. We know that the stone lifting community is a pretty vast place. There's people from all walks of life, all corners of the earth that take part in this practice. And so we want to find a way to be able to include as many perspectives and stories as possible in our episodes, understanding that due to life circumstances, all of our other responsibilities, we can really only conceivably put out one episode a month. And in a community that's so big, that doesn't allow us to provide a lot of perspectives on all of the cool things that are happening in stone lifting across the world. So this is a way that we can sort of put out topics for, and it might not be for each episode, but when we do include a community corner in an episode, we'll put out topics on our page and people can engage with that and comment, and then we'll reach out to you. And something that we thought was kind of a neat way to do it is to collect voice notes, so that you can share your experiences in your words. You don't need us trying to recreate the excitement and the sentiment and the meaning behind the experiences that you've had. Please share that with us and share it with our listeners if there's something that you're really excited about that aligns with what our Community Corner topic is for that episode. So
Yeah, it's just a chance for more people to get their voices heard again. We only have so much time to put out this podcast. As much we'd love to talk to more people all the time. That's why we started this. We just wanted to talk to people, and that's what a podcast form is. And so this just gives a chance to hear more voices, hear more stories in whatever way that we can. And yeah, that's the goal for this.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do our best to try to provide varied perspectives on stone lifting with each episode. Authors, community creators, researchers, professional athletes, amateur athletes, coaches. But again, that, with the one episode per month or a month and a half, that really only provides a limited view on this practice that is global and growing so quickly. So
Very quickly.
right? Which is so exciting.
Yeah.
So I think this is a great way to cast a wide net and bring as many conversations in as possible. And so when we do these, please don't ever feel like your experience, your story isn't up to par with what you think is required to be able to share it. It doesn't matter if you have lifted 1,000 historical stones or you've lifted none. If you've created a modern stone lifting circuit, or if you've just gone out and lifted modern stones that have been set up by other people. We want to hear from everybody, from all experience levels, from all perspectives, about what stone lifting means for them. So
For sure. And we've spoke many times about this in the podcast. If you've listened to some of our episodes, you'll know that we've repeated it is the best stone lifts have nothing to do with the weight lift. It has to do with the battle with the stone.
mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you're a noob or you are a professional athlete. It is about your battle with the stone. And so that carries over to the same principle of this Community Corner concept, is that it's about how much you care about this practice, not about your experience with it. So,
or
Sure.
about number of followers or anything like that. Like even
Doesn't-
think about the past guests we've had. Nick Whalen is someone who's had a massive impact on historical stone lifting. He doesn't post on social media. I think he's got like 500 followers, but he's found or helped find over 60 historical stones across Scandinavia and in other parts of the world. Guys like Keith Surratt, he puts out one video a year, very beautifully curated, that
Yeah, they're
captures
awesome.
a really meaningful experience when he's been on a historical stone tour. But even I laughed thinking back to when we had John and Travel Lift Stones Repeat on for his episode. I think he had 700 or 800 followers when we had him on. And then shortly thereafter, he had this explosively viral lift. And now he is the owner of the most watched stone lift in history, and that will probably ever be watched.
He probably has more views on one of those videos than all of the stone lifting videos on the planet combined.
Yeah,
realistically,
which
which is crazy, and it's truly one of the best stone lifts I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
absolutely. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you thought about contributing to this community corner, but you didn't quite feel like you had a place to do so, please know we want to hear from absolutely everybody.
Do it.
Please do it. Do it now. Send it in. Send in the voice note.
Video.
All right.
I don't know what that was.
All right. Well, with that in mind, let's jump into it. Our newest segment on the podcast, Community Corner.
My name's David Broadley, and I'm from Troon in the west of Scotland. My favourite stone lifting experience has to be my 2022 trip to lift the Colonsay Stone, also known as the Clark O'Callagh in Scots Gaelic. Given that I live in Manchester, England, and the fact that Colonsay is a challenging place to get to, given there's only one ferry a day, a colleague and I decided to fly ourselves up there in his wee Cessna. The flight there and back was absolutely unreal, especially flying over such a beautiful part of the world around my homeland of Ayrshire, over the top of Ailsa of Craig and the Isles of Arran and Jura. The stone itself is an absolute beauty. I managed to get a good couple of lifts to the shoulder, and at the time there'd been less than 5 known lifts in the previous decade, so that made it even more memorable. I can't imagine I'll be able to top that experience for any other stone lift. It truly was a bucket list experience.
Hi, I'm Mark Torrey and I'm from Forfar, Scotland. My favourite time lifting a stone was the first time I lifted the Bereaving Stone. The stone sits near to Cawdor Castle, the seat of Clan Campbell of Cawdor. My ancestors were a sect of the clan. It's amazing to think my ancestors might have lifted the Bereaving Stone. This is what makes it my favourite out of all of the Scottish stones.
This is Mark Johnson. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota in the USA. And my favorite stone lifting experience was with the Bradley Moor, also known as the Lettermore stone in Ireland. The stone is sitting outside an old speakeasy, and folks would get drunk and then lift the stone to impress each other. And the landowner is restoring the speakeasy into her home by herself using traditional techniques. And it was and she loved the stone lifting and the story with that. And it was just very cool to see someone who has the same respect for tradition and history that we do, just expressed in a different medium.
Hey folks, this is Shane Bagney from Vancouver, Canada. And my favorite stone lifting experience is back in the summer when me and a few of the other boys from the Vancouver Strongman community got together and just lifted a bunch of the random landscaping stones that I had been scoping out. So we lifted them, we roughly guessed the weights of them, we named them all, and we had a really great time. There was a ton of random passerbys and people walking their dogs, just staring at us and asking what we were doing. And a few of them joined in, which was awesome. And I ended up making a map out of it with locations, pictures, and all that jazz, which is on my Instagram, Shaner Lifts Things. So if anyone wants to come out and lift them, just have a look at that post and send me a message. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Cody Hardy. Wild Bill Cody on Instagram. I live in Fort Nelson, BC, Canada. Last year I decided I was gonna collect stones from different rivers and lakes all around northern BC in the Yukon and even up to Alaska. And last summer me and my dog took a road trip and I wanted to visit the hometown of a friend that I lost to suicide a few years ago. And her family gave me directions to a place that was important to them on the Skeena River. So after me and my dog Hero, we spent some time there. And eventually I found the biggest stone at that point that I've ever really attempted before. It was kind of rectangular with jagged, sharp edges all the way around it. So it probably took me about an hour to roll it, drag it, and wrestle it over and into the back of my Jeep. And and then now it stays in my garage. It's had a 1,300 kilometer or 800 mile journey from the river to where it is now. That's probably my most favorite memory to date.
Hey guys, name is Michael Calvert. I live in Norfolk, Nebraska, USA. I'd have to say my favorite stone lifting experience was my Húsafell lift in 2024. To start off, it took me 10 to 15 tries to even find a good handhold to pick this stone up. But eventually I got it, and I knew I wasn't gonna let it go until I completed the lap. I started the lap out strong, went super quick, and I was like, oh, I got this. And then about halfway through, the stone started slipping on my arms. So I had to stop, re-grasp, get going, start off again. Well, then the stone started slipping again. And I probably had to adjust a total of 4 to 5 times on the stone without dropping it. And I eventually made it, but it took every single ounce of determination I had. And that was probably my favorite stone lifting experience. It was a test of who I was for grit and determination. Thanks.
Hey, this is Brian Clifford, Big Red Doc from Massachusetts, USA. My favorite stone lifting experience so far has been the Húsafell stone. It was my first day ever lifting historic stones. And when we got there, the place just had an energy to it. I have no other way to describe it. I went to the stone, I stood it up, laid my hands on it, and I asked it permission to be lifted in the traditional way with respect. Everyone that has lit the stones with me knows that I will often struggle to pick stones on my first try. But my first time attempting the Húsafell, it just seemed to fly up to my lap and then to my chest, and then I was off. And I knew I was going to either make it the full lap or collapse on the way out of exertion. I made it the full lap, tried to put it down with respect, and then just let out these guttural screams that I'll remember till the day I die.
Hi, I am Ross McIntosh, or Russ Lifts Rocks on socials, and I'm from East Calder in Scotland. My favourite stone lifting experience has been with the massive 163 kilogram Big Rusty Stone at Sheriff's Muir, which was placed out by Jamie McGregor. It's the first stone I really struggled to even lap and hit a wall with. I took a lot of visits and lifts to finally manage to even lap it, and then a lot more to then chest it. And I finally managed to get it to shoulder after a few more. It was just a big personal battle and massive achievement for me, and just me against the stone, but it kind of opened the floodgates to lifting even heavier stones to shoulder.
Hey everyone in the stonelifting community, this is Sean Urquhart from Cleveland, Ohio. I was asked to share my favorite stonelifting experience with all of you. And to be quite honest, I don't think I have one experience that could be defined as like my favorite stone lift or my favorite experience that I've had with lifting stones. For me, it's been the experiences that I've shared with family and loved ones and friends from all over the world, coming together, lifting each other up, and just experiencing different cultures, different countries, different landscapes, different stones, and everything in between. That to me is my absolute favorite experience that I've had. It's not one stone lift. It's not being the strongest stone lifter or lifting the most stones. For me, it's been, going to Iceland with my wife and walking up, within a few hundred feet of a volcano that's erupting, and then a few hours later lifting Húsafell. It's experiences like going to Sweden on a boys' trip with my father and my two sons, and lifting stones and experiencing the culture where some of my ancestors had come from. It's traveling to Japan with my family, my wife and kids, and lifting stones and experiencing that culture, and meeting people from all over the world. So for me personally, it's not one stone that I've lifted. It is truly an experience that I've had sharing my love and my passion for stone lifting with everyone that I truly care about. So thank you for listening, and that's all I've got.
Hey, this is Jarrett from New England Stonelifting. I've got a couple favorite experiences. The first one being the creation of New England Stonelifting. Everybody involved in Nestle is so thoughtful, considerate, and strong as hell. I'm grateful that we all found each other, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future brings. If we're talking about my favorite stone lifting experience, it has to be my trip to Isla to lift the McPhee stone. Becoming the first McPhee in 400 years to lift a recently rediscovered link in the stone lifting chain between Scotland and Ireland was just a huge honor. I'm looking forward to going back and getting a full stand with it soon, and I'll let you know more when I know more.
My name's Sean Mullins, aka Crocodile Dundee. I think my favourite stone lifts tend to be the ones that I've shared with other people passionate about stone lifting. And one that jumps out in particular is the little stone tour that I took my mate Ronaldo on to one of my favourite places, Cedar Creek, up in Queensland, where we lifted the Cedarburg stone and then the Black Creek stones. I think that was a really special experience because it was my first little stone tour that I'd run. And again, sharing that experience with people who were also really passionate about stone lifting just added a whole other element to it, to sort of going and just having a go at these things by myself. It was really special to be able to share that experience. So I think that's my one favourite stone lift so far, among a whole lot that I've really enjoyed.
Hi, this is Nadia, aka The Storm, out here from Southern California. To share with you guys today, hands down has to be my favorite stone lift is the Denny Stones. Back in 2023, I was invited to the Arnold Strongman Classic up on the main stage. Unfortunately, about 3 weeks before that, I had popped my left Achilles, and I was unfortunately having to pull out of the competition. However, there was still the world record breakers, and the Denny Stones was one of them. I knew it was a static lift. I had a great grip, and I thought, why not go for it? So I trained on our Mimic Denny Stones here at the gym with some plate loaded, and then went on to one of the first ones to break that record. I was followed by a fellow competitor. She beat my time by 1 second, but still to this day, that is my absolute favorite because no matter how much I'm down, I'm always going to find a way to do what I love, and that will always be one of my favorites.
Hi guys, Andy Downs here from County Limerick, Ireland. My favourite stone lifting experience would hands down have to be getting to lift the Clochard Lawn, the High Island stone. It's a stone I first heard about on your guys' podcast with David Keown, and ever since hearing it I've been just fascinated with that stone and the location. For those that don't know, it's on a monastic settlement off the coast of Galway. Like, there's a monastery there that dates back to the 7th century, and I think the current ruins date back to the 10th century. There's mystery as to the purpose of the stone, how it got there. But I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to go there with one of the locals in May last year and get a chance to lift the stone. So that would be hands down my favourite experience. Like you've said so many times in the podcast, it's not necessarily about the stone or the weight or your lift that makes it so special, but it's the journey of getting there. And it's very hard to pick a better experience than getting out to High Island. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks to everybody who sent in those voice notes for Community Corner. Look out for the next opportunity to contribute because, again, we'd love to hear from everybody. So, our guest for episode 25 of the Stone Straight podcast, Liam Brown. I think a lot of people are probably now familiar with Liam as a lifter, but it's been awesome to be able to shine a light on who Liam is as a person. It's someone who, once you sort of start talking to him and understand what a dedicated, committed, diligent person he is, you understand how he went from someone who just over 2 years ago had never touched a historical stone to someone who was voted in the Maximum Iron magazine as one of the candidates, and we don't know what the results are yet, probably soon, potentially as the best new stone lifter. But you see his videos now. He is chesting 400 plus stones. He is one of the most impressive Húsafell stone lifters and carriers ever, as someone who is a sub 90 kilogram human being body weight wise, to be able to carry that thing almost 2 full laps. And as you'll hear, it could have been 2 laps, but Liam put the safety of the stone above his own pride, which is an incredible message to hear from him that I think more people in the community can take on board. And he's such a nice guy. I know Dave, you and him share a lot of commonalities in being first responders, and that your strength in many ways is your ability to carry out the functions of your work. He's someone that takes that very seriously. So he wants to be strong, not just to become a better stone lifter, but it's something that he's very, very protective and respectful of as part of his profession, and because people's lives depend on it. So
he's the kind of guy you want to rescue a loved one.
Absolutely.
That's the
Yeah,
reality of it.
exactly. Yep, absolutely. So without further ado, our guest for episode 25 of the podcast, Liam Brown. Welcome to episode 25 of the Stones and String podcast, where we are ecstatic to have on our guest, Liam Brown. Liam, how are you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining us.
Great, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
You are someone who sort of burst on the scene into stone lifting and has quickly become not only an incredibly impressive stone lifter, but someone who is a prolific stone lifter. Like, you are always getting after it, but you also like to get creative and have fun. And it's just been so entertaining. You know, you throw on your fighting gear, you grab your Húsafell bag, and you walk around through the fire hall. When we hear from some of the old guard of stone lifting that have been around for a while and sort of seen the stone lifting landscape change, when you get guys like Ryan Stewart coming forward and going, Liam Brown is one of my favorite to watch, that's got to mean a whole lot to you.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Stewart, the king of efficiency. Like, a lot of my lifts will be inspired, and I feel like I almost try and mimic people's styles.
Sure.
And like Ryan's efficiency will always impress me, and I'd always strive to be efficient as him one day. So yeah, that was one of a few surreal moments to have him say that. Yeah, because I do look up to him quite a bit.
Yeah.
As do we. He's incredible.
So before we get into who you are now, which is Liam Brown, the stone lifting phenom, maybe take us back in time to meet a young Liam Brown and how he got into athletics before he found strength sports.
Well, a young Liam Brown was an avid gamer. You know, you never knew what athletics was. I've never played any sort of competitive sport or competitive lifting. It might shock some people to hear, but I think most of my strength comes from working in a cold carpet warehouse. I worked in there for maybe 7 years. And now when I think about it, a lot of those movements we would do, picking up heavy carpets, carrying them lumberjack style through, and it was almost like a finger event, getting these 5-meter carpets into position. Everything was done by hand, even down to the point of rolling them onto cardboard tubes. The glue in the backing of the carpet was frozen, so you had to really crunch it onto this cardboard tube. So I feel like the repetition from that occupation, working it 6 days a week almost for 7 years, definitely carried over to the likes of stone lifting and sandbag lifting. And you know, like sometimes on the lunch break, you would have a truck turn up from Holland that would have like 500 bales of underlay that needed to be unloaded. So you were constantly carrying them off the truck into the warehouse. You would alternate shoulders. So yeah, a lot of that stuff has probably built strength in that movement pattern for me, which is obviously carried over really well to sandbags and stones.
Oh, absolutely. That's kind of the epitome of the concept of farm strength, or the old world strength, right? Where it's not about barbells, but it's about just movement under heavy load in awkward positions. So that makes a ton of sense as to why you got the footing the way you did.
Yeah, definitely. I was still working out 6 days a week. I would do push-pull legs twice and then have 1 day off. But I never ever thought about what the work, what I was doing at work would affect me at the gym, sort of thing. So I was still doing, like, you know, bodybuilding type stuff, but never really trained for strength. Really, never really done much deadlifts. I liked a back squat. I like to do high repetition back squats. Never went crazy heavy though. But then, started doing the stones and bags, and started getting strong at deadlift, even though I'm not doing it, which was quite interesting.
How old were you then when you kind of jumped in and started doing just the sort of standard bodybuilding gym protocol?
I would have been 22 years old. Up until that point, I was an avid gamer, really addicted to video games, World of Warcraft. Andy Crawford gave me a shout out, I believe, when he was on. And as crazy as it sounds, I sometimes see the stones and sandbags as a video game, because, you know, you work yourself towards a goal, you put time in, and you get, you know, you reap the rewards of it. So it's almost like a video game in real life for me.
Leveling up.
I was going to say, we've watched you level up pretty significantly in the past couple of years. When you jumped in and started doing the gym stuff, as someone who spent a lot of time, you know, playing video games, did you notice right off the bat that you were particularly strong, or was that something that really you started from you know, the basement level and built from there?
My first experience of a bench press was when my brother and my uncle were outside training, and it was 40 kilograms, I believe, on one of these old plastic bars, but like the plastic weights that had sand in them.
Yeah.
And I literally went out, couldn't get it off the rack. I got them to lift it off for me, and then I tried to control the eccentric, and it just fell onto my chest. So I had zero muscle mass just because of my lifestyle, my diet. But after a few months, I say, of training, I definitely started to develop a base of strength and change physically. I mean, one thing that is quite interesting for me as well is my grandfather used to deliver coal for a living, and that would include putting an 80-kilo bag of coal on his shoulder and taking up 5 flights of stairs. Some of the old tenements in Edinburgh, some of the flats, he used to deliver coal to them. So I feel like if you ever think that genetics are a thing, it's maybe genetically in me to be quite proficient at carrying stuff, because when I see pictures of my grandfather and his brothers, they all had a decent build, quite similar to myself. And even my granddad, when he was 70, I didn't realize at the time, but he used to be able to bounce his pecs, his buys, and his quads while whistling like the A-Team song. It was quite crazy when you think. Quite crazy. And I still remember him, 77 years old, dementia. When I would go and see him, he still kind of pull out a sneaky little bicep pose, because when I was younger, he was my hero, and I used to think, oh, that's so incredible. He's like the Incredible Hulk. Even like a year before he passed away, he still kind of like to pull a little flex. So yeah, he would definitely, I would say, genetically, I'd maybe be gifted.
Yeah, that's a whole concept of epigenetics. There's a lot of science that they're working on behind that. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question for you then, sort of, you seem to be the kind of person who just sort of goes all in on things. From when you were, as you said, sort of addicted to video gaming, to then migrating into the gym, had you quit gaming at that point and then focus your efforts on the gym, or was it sort of like a transition where you went, holy smokes, like if I apply the same dedication I do to video games to other pursuits in life, my potential is pretty much limitless?
I could have possibly have spoke 10 different languages by the time I spent all those years on video games. But you know what? I made great friends from it, friends that I still speak to this day. And it was great.
Right.
And there's worse things to be doing as a teenager. I never really touched alcohol, no substances, anything like that. But no, it was very much, I went straight from video games into the gym. And that was my new obsession. Because that I get obsessed.
Yeah,
as you guys
we hear
can
you.
guess, but as long as I channel that obsession into something positive, then yeah, I feel that it can be a positive, and especially with stones and sandbags, because I felt when I was doing push-pull legs 6 days on, 1 day off, I felt like the gym almost dominated my life, because I felt like I had to get those 6 days in. Now I can come out here 3 times a week, throw a few sandbags about, stones about, very low volume, but quite high intensity, and I'm satisfied. I don't feel like I need to do more, which has taken probably a wee while for me to adapt to, because to begin with, I was so used to those 40 set workouts, and being in the gym for an hour and a half, leaving nothing on the table, walking about after a leg day, hobbling, because I thought that's what it took to get strong legs. But I mean, I can't remember the last time I had leg DOMs. And Dave will tell you, as a firefighter, you don't want to have leg DOMs.
No,
very good
it's
point.
not an option. Yeah, there's some guys at work, and when I was a rookie and I came to their hall, and they were pretty big in the gym, and it was actually some of the guys that I learned how to gain muscle mass from, because I wouldn't eat properly. And that first year, I put on 20 pounds of lean muscle by only eating more food and training hard. But the point I'm getting to is these guys, before I came to the hall, a few months prior, they were doing a super heavy leg workout, and then they had a high-rise fire, and they had to hike up 18 stories with all of our kit. And I learned a lesson through them right off the bat, is you do not show up to work with that kind of soreness, right? It's just not an option for us.
No, and just for quality of life for me as well. Like, I don't want to be hobbling about with my kids when I'm taking them to swimming and things like that. So, but again, everyone has their own goals, and if people want to train that way, and if that's the way that they get, a specific look, because obviously the stuff that I do isn't the best for hypertrophy, but I don't want to get any bigger. I don't want to get any heavier. I don't want to get any stronger. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing just now for as long as I can, because I feel like where does it stop? You know, like I feel like I'm at my limit on a lot of the lifts, and I'm fine with that. If I can maintain for the next 20 years or so, I'll be happy. You know, like Mark Sheriffs, Brett Nickel, those guys are in their 50s and 60s and still doing incredible stuff. So those are the guys that I kind of look up to the most.
You got to be able to do the peck dance when you're in your 70s. You got to live up to your granddad.
Yeah,
Exactly.
my granddad definitely set the bar with that one.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because I mean, that's a commonality between the two of you being first responders and firefighters, where your physicality is essentially your ability to perform your duty. And something I'd never thought about until you just mentioned it is there's that fine balance between maintaining your strength and, if need be, developing strength, but then also not doing it to the extent where you're coming into work the next day compromising your ability to execute your duties because you are working out too hard.
Yeah, exactly. And what a lot of people don't realize is I've been told before, you know, if I gain weight, I'll get a lot stronger. If I try, when I go into this off season, I should do this. But as Dave will tell you, there is no off season for first responders and firefighters. I'm expected to be just as strong and fast today as I am to be next month, the month after that, month after that. So I'm never thinking off season. I'm trying to stay a certain level for the next 30 years. And the low volume, high intensity sandbag so far seems to be the best one for me because, again, it doesn't affect me at work. It doesn't affect me in life. And it keeps me strong in areas that I need to be strong in, carrying stuff, picking stuff up off the floor that doesn't want to be picked up. So I don't see myself ever changing the way I train. And I feel like, well, Dave obviously is very passionate about it as well. No.
Maybe, and I don't want to sort of lean into maybe sensitive topics, but you both have a very interesting and unique window into how important it is to be physically strong when others are in a time of need. And I guess this is now a question. Sorry, Dave, you're in the hot seat too. A question for both of you. We'll start with you, Liam, and share as much or as little detail as you choose. But can you think of maybe one time that stands out to you where it was a life or death situation for somebody that depended on you being as physically strong as you are?
Yeah, no, definitely. There has been probably a few incidents where being strong has benefited me. The fire service will state that there always must be a safe system of work put in place. You know, if we have people maybe over the other side of a bridge that are threatening to jump, we can't just kind of grab them. We can't approach them just in case they slip and fall. We must set up ropes. But once they are in the ropes, it can still be tricky to get someone over a barrier, maybe a 4-foot barrier, especially if they're facing the opposite way. You don't want them to slip. In those situations, I'm able to just grab them from behind and pick them up and pull them over. And yeah, picking people off the floor that have been in a fire, Dave will tell you it's very difficult. The skin, there's been times where I've just managed to do it. You know, it's that movement pattern. It's no different to me. It's just a sandbag. So yeah, it definitely carries over extremely well to what we do. I've spoke to Dave in depth, you know, and he's got, I think he should share a few fascinating stories about where his strength is really came into play as a firefighter.
I don't want to take too much credit for certain things because, as you'll know, Liam, everything you do on the fire ground is as a team, right? And we work as a team and everything, but some people have certain skills and some have certain strengths and so on. But we had one call in particular, and actually I was talking about it today with a fellow that was there that we had, it came in as a man trapped, and it was a first party caller. So in the fire department, a lot of times you get third party callers or second party callers, but first party caller means I'm calling, I'm in trouble, I need help. And so usually when you hear that, you know it's on. But basically what was happening is a guy was working underneath his car in the garage. He did not have it set up properly, and the car fell on him, pinching him between the belly button and the nipple line, basically. And we pulled up on my truck about 45 seconds after the initial truck. And so in that time, they had gone to the garage, opened the door, found the patient trapped under his car, essentially unresponsive. And in a situation like that, you have to assume that they're deceased at that point. So they opened up the garage door right as we came up. Now, in situations like that, we have our protocols as well where you have to set up what's called cribbing. So every time you lift the car, if it falls onto the cribbing. So we have safety protocols to protect the patients and ourselves, but there's also the concept of life over limb. and this person was already deceased. And so my senior man at the time looked up to me, saw that we'd showed up and said, we're just going to lift this. And we did. Myself and two other guys grabbed it. We picked the car right up off him, slid him out. Within about 2 minutes, we had him breathing again. And then I think it was 4 or 5 days later, he walked to the fire hall and brought us a card. So those are some of those instances where, was it just me that did that? Absolutely not, nor would I ever take credit for that. But also the guys in my crew, knowing what I can do with my lifting, it gave all of us the confidence to be like, hey, well, let's just try this, see what happens, right? So yeah, I think that's an interesting testament. I know you and I, again, have talked about this as well.
And
how
especially
we feel.
most people won't realize as well, in those moments, the maybe 2 minutes it would take for them to set up an airbag to get underneath that car to then lift it up could have been the difference between him, coming back and not, because every second is so precious. So again, I think it's a perfect example, and it should be made an example of worldwide why we should remain physically fit at that job.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. But yeah, and I don't know how you feel, Liam, but I know that I myself feel so much better on the fire ground knowing what I'm capable of doing too. It gives me more confidence in my job, where, maybe I lack in certain aspects of cardio. I can't go as long as the marathon runner, but I have a purpose and I feel confident in my ability during that.
Because we've got like semi-professional cyclists. We've got big guys, we've got small guys. I think as long as you bring something to the table, not saying that everyone needs to be as strong as you, but I think as long as you bring something to the team, I think that is definitely something that all firefighters should strive for. Because again, you're only as good as your weakest firefighter on the fire ground.
And I can only imagine sort of in it being essentially, like you said, a team it's important for you and David to also be confident in the person to your left and your right, and vice versa, for them to be confident in what you guys are capable of as well, because not only are the people you're rescuing dependent upon you, but you guys are dependent upon each other. So you need to be able to be there, be present, be strong for the man or woman to your left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And the people I work with are like a family to me, and we all have a really tight bond. They'll be the same for Dave. And we will all look out for each other. I'm fortunate to be at quite a good station, City Centre, Edinburgh Toll Cross. Have a great watch, all young and keen. We're probably one of the younger watches around, but by no means the less competent. We're all quite good at our job. And, there's guys that have paved the way for us. Dave will be the same. There'll be legendary firefighters that have, kind of hand the torch down now and kind of retired, but you always strive to be the best. You always strive to be as good as they were, because they deserve the respect.
Yep, I completely agree with all of that. So now that we kind of have your backstory and how the strength application has benefited your job, where does Stonelifting fit into all of this? Like, you just came on the Stonelifting scene quite recently, and so how did you hear about it? What was your exposure to it, and basically what kind of lit the fire for you?
My first exposure.
Firefighter joke.
I did not mean that.
Sorry. Okay.
Oh, well, Dave says this was going to turn into a firefighter romance. So my first exposure to Stonelifting would have been January 2024. Jamie McNeil, South African guy that lives down the road from me, runs Bear Strength Dunbar. Great guy. He's the man. He's got a son called Joshua McNeil. You might see. I've reposted his stuff. He was 16 years old. He lifted the Castle Menzies.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And unbelievably well. Like
Really?
It was.
I don't think I've
I
seen
could
that.
not believe the lift was incredible, and that's why I was like, he looks young. How young is that? And I realized he's 16 years old. Like, it was.
Yeah, I think he had
shout
just
out.
turned 16. He's done the Inverstone, the Castle Menzies. I mean, he'll do the Arvolic soon as well. He's an incredible lifter. Well, his father, Jamie, he invited me down, and my friend Johnny Muir, you might see him on my stories, tattooed lifter.
Okay.
He's also a firefighter, Dave. He invited us down to try some stones and strongman stuff. So I'd never touched a stone before. But it's quite funny now that I look back at it. There was maybe signs back then that I would be not bad at it, because he had like a Húsafell type stone that I carried, and I must have carried it for like 200 meters because it just kept going back and forward in his garden. I had shot at the Dinny pins for the first time, and they felt really good as well. And I think he had a 90-kilo stone, and I remember just picking it up and putting it to shoulder, and I was just like, this this is wild. This feels so raw. And again, I got scratched up at the time as well. And I remember saying to Johnny afterwards, I was like, we need to give this a go. But then a couple of months had passed and we hadn't done anything. We didn't do any more. We just kind of went back to doing our usual kind of push-pull leg setup. Then my friend at work, Rory Burton, again, another firefighter, me and him decided to go up to Sheriff Muir. I'm not sure if you guys visited those when you were over. The home of the infamous Big Rusty.
Yeah.
So we went up to there for a day and had a heck of a time. You know, we got the 130 off the floor, like a shallow stand up, and I just remember trying to pick Big Rusty up, and I got him maybe like an inch off the floor, and I was like, "Whoa, this is insane! You know, this thing is wild." And we both just kind of became hooked. You know, we left with a lot of cuts, a lot of bruises, but we were both like, "That was amazing," because we went straight from a busy night shift, straight out. You know, we were both hooked, and then I think our second stone tour was in June. And that's when we visited the Arvolic Stone. We done the Arvolic Stone, the Putrak, Monocle, and the Loch Foyle. And we managed to lift them all, actually. But we had no idea of the magnitude of lifting the Arvolic Stone because we were so naive. We just saw this map and we thought, oh, that looks cool, we'll go there. But back then I was kind of clasping a lot of stones, which was getting stones off the floor that maybe I shouldn't have been getting off at the time. But yeah, like it just seemed like it all happened quite quickly. You know, our first trip to Iceland was then booked a few weeks later. And now you're only talking at that point. By the time we got to Iceland, I think we had been doing stone lifting for our first stone tour was in March. So it was about 6 months, 5 or 6 months. But again, still very naive. You know, we had no idea of the magnitude of the Húsafell, of the Drypvik stone. We were just having a lot of fun and just not letting anything intimidate us.
That's awesome. Where in this timeline, sir, did you get introduced to the Rogue documentaries? So Fullsturker or Stoneland, or had you not yet seen?
I hadn't seen them before, no. But as soon as I left after my first stone trip up to Sheriff Muir, I was watching all the documentaries. Like I was just researching everything. It was incredible because I got a set of the replica Dinny pins around about April time and managed to get a cancellation about 5 weeks later. So I pulled the Dinnies on the 4th of May, I think 2024. Again, a movement that I kind of picked up quite quickly. My first workout with a set of pins, I pulled 252 kilos. And then I think I had 4 sessions after that. And every session I managed to put maybe 10, 15 kilos on my pull. Again, never really deadlifted before though, which was quite strange. It just felt really quite natural for my levers. You know, I've got quite short legs, longer torso, so I think that does carry over quite well to the Dinny Stones. And then obviously meeting the infamous Brett Nicol at the Dinny Stones. I mean, what experience! Incredible.
He's amazing.
Oh God, like he for me, he makes the whole Dinny Stone experience. Just it never ceases to amaze me when you see him positioning the stones for people as well. How easy he can move them. Yeah. You know, he's just so strong. Such a good guy as well. So good for the community. And again, I'm in close contact with Brett.
Yeah, he's someone that when David went and lifted the Dinny stones, Brett invited us to his house afterwards and let us lift a bunch of the stones. And even just for myself coming to Scotland, you know, scared shitless, assuming that I wasn't going to be able to do very, very much. Just that time with Brett lifting some of the stones in his yard and stuff. I got a lift on his Belogie stone. And after he's like, if you can do that, you can lift any stone in Scotland. And from there, the stress came down, the excitement ramped up, and it was wonderful that someone like him, who is, you know, he's got stones that are now in Giants Live, like he's so well embedded in the community, to be able to just set aside time to help new lifters, older lifters, like everyone to kind of just feel welcome in the Dinny experience, but also welcome in Scotland to explore the other amazing stones around the country.
Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe that if Brett wasn't up there when you're doing the Dinny stones, I think maybe 50% of the people wouldn't get it, because he will position the stones for people. And if they have a bad lift, he's able to look at their lift and make those little adjustments. And then they get their lift. Like it's incredible. And again, I'm going up to Brett's in a few months to do some more lifting. I was just up recently at John's with Johnny. We're working out with Brett, a wee surprise visit to John, which was nice. And again, I think Brett's 53 now, and you would never guess. Like he's still like an absolute monster when he's lifting. And again, I can't get over the size of those hands. Every time I see
Oh, they're
them,
huge. Yeah.
I'm not one for admiring other man's body parts, but like when you see them, it's almost like a set of like you
This is
know
the
how the
safe
kids get
space. Go
the
ahead. Yeah.
but
The
yeah.
thing, the thing that's cool though is that you know, in some circles you can run into people that are quite protectionist over, you know, their history and feats of strength and things like that, because the more difficult and the fewer people that are able to successfully do it, sort of the more hype and mystique these things get around. But the way that
Yeah.
Brett's approached the Dinny Stones, it's the opposite. He wants as many people as possible to have
Oh
a
god, yeah.
rewarding experience and a
Yeah.
successful lift with them.
Yeah, he's the right person to have in that position, because you're right. There will be people out there that don't want people to achieve lifts of certain stones because they quite like that it's a low number, because again it
Right.
makes it more prestigious. Brett is the exact opposite. He wants everyone to lift, and again, like I said, if he was there, I feel like a lot of people would have missed their lifts, because not only is he positioning for you, he'll always shout, sit down on it, sit down on it, and that always echoes in my head when I think of my lift of the Dinny Stones. Look back on it fondly, because he did say that to me, sit down on it, and at that point I dropped my hips and they popped right up. But I definitely someone that we're going to be lifting with loads this summer.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. He has a way of just cutting the tension in the air as well, because when we were standing around, there's only myself and 3 other fellas that were going to lift, but everyone's nervous. You know, we're trying to make awkward chatter with each other, and then Brett just shows up with a big smile on his face, swinging those tennis rackets for hands, shaking everyone's hand, and just he just cut the tension, made everybody feel welcome, made everybody feel comfortable. And when somebody does that, I think it goes a lot further than you really realize at the time,
Yeah.
because it drops the stress levels and
Oh,
then it becomes
100%.
excitement, right? So you
Yeah.
still keep the same level of energy, but it takes it from stress and puts it onto an excitement. And at least for me, I should say, I found that his presence alone, plus he gave me a big hug because we'd been chatting a lot, and shook my hand, gave me a hug, and it just makes you feel so welcome in the experience. So yeah, I just can't say enough good things about him.
No, the man is great, and like I say, I speak to him all the time. Him and John are 2 great guys, and I think they've recently been taken on for the Stone Nations ambassadors. And again, I couldn't think of better people in Scotland to be representing Scottish stone lifting. Yeah, phenomenal.
So that's one thing I really wanted to talk to you about, having listened to you just a few minutes ago there. So it's one thing to be introduced to stones, right? Like we've introduced a lot of people and they get really amped up and go, this is like such a cool thing. This feels great. And then you get into the documentaries. But at what point did you realize this is kind of a big deal in the country I'm in, and I'm actually in the hotbed of international stone lifting with respect to the attention on it and the history? Because it's one thing for us to be like, oh, this is cool. But when we got into it, we're like, we want to go to Scotland. You were already in the place that a lot of people look to inspire them to stone lift.
I think for me, it's almost like that thing where, damn it, I wish I'd done this 10 years ago sort of thing. But then also I'm like, you know what, I'm enjoying it now. So I'm trying not to think about that. But yeah, it just blows my mind. I think the Dinny stones are obviously one of the bigger stones. But I feel like it's going to be getting bigger and bigger, and it'll be quite funny in, like, say, 5 years' time when stone lifting is exposed, and maybe people will know that I lift stones in my garage, and they'll maybe say to me, oh, do you fancy going lifting the Dinny stones? Are you going to go try the Húsafell stone one day, sort of thing? But yeah, it's quite strange, because the reception I think you still get when you tell people you lift stones. You know, my partner sometimes has her friends round for a workout in the garage, and I think their reaction when they open the garage door and see there is a squat rack, but there's also 5 tons of stones and sandbags sitting at the side, they don't quite understand it. But yeah, I'm just really, really enjoying this journey, really enjoying the community. Everyone in it is just so incredible. And it just continues to grow from strength to strength.
I can only imagine what it was like for you, because in watching Stoneland, like, you know, our ancestry is for the most part Scottish, and you watch that documentary and it's a celebration not only of the stones, but in you know, a big way of Scottish strength and Scottish culture. What was it like for you being a Scot living in Scotland who had sort of started to enjoy stone lifting, to then see this incredible celebration of your own country? Like, that must have been pretty
It gives
emotional
you,
or impactful.
yeah, it gives you goosebumps. And I mean, I've done a few Now, few solo stone tours are like kind of going to try stones that maybe not many people have tried before, and taking my kilt. And there is something, I don't know, there's something not eerie. Eerie is not the right word, but when you do get there and you do get your lift sort of thing, and right after the lift, you do feel like this sort of like special feeling, like there has been people there before you, and you're now like part of that stone's history. Again, I'm not like a superstitious sort of person, but yeah, I think there is history in these sites. There's history in these stones, and it's super special. And you just want to share it with everyone. So that's why I'm always sharing my stuff on social media and things like that, because it's just a great way to get out and have a good time with your friends. I'm away on Sunday. You know, we're away on Sunday to go up to the Arvolic Stone, the McGregor Stone, the Fianna Stone, and stuff like that. And I'm so excited for it. And it's just me and another couple of guys. We'll be out the entire day, all have our kilts on, all having good crack. Yeah, it's just very special, very special.
Yeah, I can't imagine being able to just jump in the car and go see these stones.
Spend a weekend to go visit the Ardville.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm never
So
going to, get complacent. I know how lucky we are to only be a small drive. Because again, that's quite funny when we think a 2-hour drive is a long distance. That's not long, is it, for you guys? Right?
No.
So
the closest
we
major city is 2.5 hours from us.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate it. And again, we're always taking the drop pads. We'll always treat the stones with the respect and leave them where we found them. And yeah, we'll never take them for granted.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Something that, we definitely want to talk about the Húsafell and the incredible journey that you had from your first lift, which we highlighted in sort of like the hype post for this episode.
Yeah.
From your first lift where you struggled to leverage it to your knees, and then to your most recent lift, which was like nearly 2-lap, unbelievable for someone like, we've talked about, you're an average size human being. You're under 90 kilograms to be able to put that stone up to your chest and walk with the ease, the confidence, and the sure-footedness that you did speaks to your grit and determination and your training. But something that you do that's so awesome and has made us, obviously, we're huge fans of yours, but even bigger fans, is that, and this speaks almost maybe even, you talked about passing the torch at work, where you have sort of the old guard passing the torch, these legendary firefighters passing it to you and the other firefighters. And so through your experience, maybe with Brett Nicol and John Gibb and Mark Sheriff and these guys in Scotland, is the sort of passing of the torch where they were open and welcoming and shared their knowledge and experience with you. You're now sort of paying that forward in a way where you're putting up tons of posts showing people, the efficient ways you found to lift sandbags, steps on how to pick the Húsafell in different ways, how to carry it. Like, you're really, really open in sharing the experience that you have had and that you've accumulated.
Yeah, and I think that's the stonelifting community in a whole. We're all out there to help each other. I always look to try and find, again, the Ryan Stewart method, finding the most efficient way to pick up a stone. I don't just want to limit myself to one way. And again, I'm a big lover of the flip. I feel like flipping the Húsafell, I could never see past it from an efficiency point of view. So I will continue to find new ways. Now that I've got the replica, I'm going to try and find even more ways to find it, because if I can help one person get the stone up that maybe doesn't have the ability to row it, then I would be very happy, because we're all different shapes and sizes, all different weights, all different backgrounds. There's not one way to lift that stone. I know some people say that, the true test of strength is rowing it. So when I was last there, I thought to myself, I'm going to prove to myself that I can row it, because I've been working on my row. When I go back out there in June, I think I'll try and flip it a different way, but yeah, I'll always continue to find new ways to lift these stones, and help people on their journey, because there's no point in me keeping it to myself. I gain nothing from that. The Húsafell stone for me is the ultimate test of strength and endurance. And, I've put God knows how many miles on the clock with these big ass sandbags. I'm looking at them just now. I've loaded them up with chains and dumbbells. I've played with different breathing methods and things like that. I almost approach it like an endurance athlete as well. Supplementation, like a lot of people will sleep on supplementation. I've got beetroot powder and things like that. Recently, I've been using a supplement which has got bicarbonate soda in it and
Yep.
pink Himalayan salt, all these different things that are going to help you with that lactate threshold. Because I believe for most people, if you get that stone locked in, it's not your grip that's given out. It's most likely going to be your legs or your gas tank. So when I was out there, I said to myself, I'm going to really go for it, We booked that trip on a couple of weeks' notice. Fergus Crawley just came down for a workout. I said to him, look, if you can lift this sandbag up and down my driveway, you will be able to do the Húsafell. So he done it, and then we booked the flights in a couple of weeks' notice. So I didn't anticipate to be out there, but this whole thing about me not having a off season, I'm always ready. So, I'm always at a certain level, so it doesn't matter to me. But yeah, I just remember going for it. When I passed the lap, I thought to myself, I feel okay. The last thing I wanted to do when I passed the lap was I didn't want to get to the end of my carry and just, go for the sprint or finish and try and launch it. I didn't want to, because again, for me, if I've done that, then I'm really going to it's just going to take away from me the enjoyment of getting it that far, because I don't want to break the thing. I know there's a lot of chat about this recently. I want to take that stone as far as I could take it, with putting it down with almost the same amount of effort as I picked it up. If you're splitting hairs, I started at the bottom left corner of the pen and I finished at the bottom left corner of the pen, maybe a meter apart. But in my head, it was almost 2 laps, 71 meters or so. Yeah,
doesn't get any closer.
I'm never going to be critical of myself again, because I was in the past I've been quite critical about myself about certain stone lifts, but I just, I'm just proud of it. Proud that I got it down and I could still stand afterwards. Because again, I've seen some people barely make a lap and almost die. So,
having that context, I have so much more respect for not only that lift, but also you as a lifter, because as you said, we have seen so many examples recently, and many of them within a single competition, where you have people going to their absolute limits and not leaving any in the tank to try to ensure that the stone is set down in a respectful and a safe way. And I understand that competitions nurture and in some ways encourage that environment. A lot of these guys and girls are competing for their livelihoods, but the fact that you could have hit sort of that 2-lap benchmark, which when people say I did 2 laps, that's outstanding. Doing 1 is hard enough. Doing 2 is outstanding. And in some ways, you put the safety of the stone over and above your ability to say, I made 2 full laps at the Húsafell. Like, you were within a meter plus or minus. Like, you could have easily crossed that threshold had you wanted to go to your absolute limits, but you would have done it at the risk of dropping the stone. So you put that stone above your own pride. And that's incredibly important for people to hear, that it's not about us and our own lifts. It's about the stone and the longevity and the ability for generations to come to be able, we want, little Liam Brown the fourth to be able to go and do the exact same that his great grandfather that used to bounce his pecs at 70 years old did too. So that being you. So that's what's so important. I think that we need to take a moment to highlight that you had that thought process.
Yeah, and I think definitely it's inevitable that drops will happen, because depending on how people carry it, I feel like carrying it big baby on its horizontal axis, it's tucked in, it's really tucked into your arm. So I feel like when the legs give up, right, that's it, it's ready to go down. On the vertical axis, a lot of finger pressure, a lot of squeezing. If the forearms do give up, you're just going to lose it. And we see it all the time in the Magnus Classic, and I know there was a bit of drama behind that. But it would be a really sad day if something did happen with the stone, or if it was broken because of that. I think that they should be taking a replica. I'm sure Sticks and Stones could sort them out a replica, full weight replica, take it to the pen on the day and make it a celebration of the real stone, and let them carry a replica. And if they want to fucking shoulder it and walk around it, then let them do it, because it is. And I feel like some of the athletes, I feel sorry for them because they don't understand it. Like, if they're not big on the stone lifting scene, they maybe regret doing it. And
I would agree.
I'd like to see it change, but we'll wait and see.
Recommendations have been made. We'll see. And I don't know. I've talked before. I had a a lengthy conversation with Magnus, and it ended very respectfully. He's an incredible athlete, and the fact that he even organized these events is great to broadcast the importance of historical stone lifting and celebrate them. But at the same time, when the footage comes out and it's the Húsafell clattering off the ground multiple times a day, young strength athletes will see that and think that that's appropriate. And one of a great recommendation that I think could be easily implemented, and it was put forth by our good friend Keith Surratt, was an administrative control. So there are risks for someone, tailing or circling outside of the lifter to be able to, dive in and deploy a mat or something like that. But similar to what you did, is if you drop the stone, it is a 3 or 5 meter penalty. So people aren't going to try to eke out that last meter and potentially drop the stone. They'll stop a meter short and set it down respectfully, because they're going to net additional 4 meters on their carry.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's out of our hands. We've had the conversation. I think the awareness is starting to increase, but where it goes, who knows? Yeah.
It's just with strongman competitions, and I have limited experience in it compared to a lot of people, but still, the reason you put your arm out is to show control. In a deadlift, if you don't have control at the top, it doesn't count. If you do a one-arm dumbbell or circus dumbbell press, if it's not a control at the top, it doesn't count. Why is a stone lift carry any different? Just all you need to do is simply finish the lift with the same control that they have for so many other aspects of the sport. Just carry that same concept to this piece of history. But anyways, who are we?
It's all part of a bigger, broader conversation. I only think it's within the past couple of years that this topic of, because stone lifting, it has become a lot more ubiquitous through Instagram and the Rogue documentaries and other documentaries, Maximum Iron, more people are becoming aware of it. So you're getting a lot of people who are maybe less informed coming in and having these poor performances with the stone, and poor, I mean, by way of dropping and compromising the stones. And so I think this conversation about putting respect for the stones above your own aspirations has really just started to pick up wind in the past couple of years. And hopefully it'll just be a step change for how they're treated going forward. And people won't have to feel like they need to try to jump in and instigate these sometimes difficult and awkward conversations. And no one wants to feel like they're the one trying to police stone lifting, because everyone can participate in this as long as you're being respectful of the setting and the stones and each other. Go about it however you want, but it is that respect that I think really needs to be at the forefront of everybody's effort when they go to lift a historical stone.
Yeah, and I mean, the first time we went to Iceland, a tour bus actually showed up to the Húsafell pen, and that's part of it. That is part of the tour, is visiting the pen and the stone. So I sometimes say to people, we've got lots of monuments in Scotland that tourists come take photos with and do things. So I'm sure the Icelandic people wouldn't like it to be broken. So fingers crossed they do come up with some sort of plan. Because I do love the Magnus Classic. It's a great competition. I love that it incorporates natural stones. But I would hate to see the Húsafell stone broken, because I mean, I plan on going out there at least once a year for the rest of my lifting career. And this will be my 4th time when I go out in a couple of months, and it's still a very special moment, for the guys that I go out with. And selfishly, I would hate for that to be taken away. And I'm sure you guys are the same. We want other people to experience it.
Oh, absolutely. And on that note, I just wanted to give you some credit, because you were very helpful with my prep for the Húsafell, because I'd like bouncing ideas off of you. And when I was training, the natural stone that we had here is a gross 385-pound stone. It's, in my opinion, it's very difficult. Let's just put it that way. But it's so deep. And so I got very accustomed to the fact that I had to pull it in, because there's not great handles, and lean really far back. And so I unfortunately made the error of carrying that into my Húsafell training. And you and I had a discussion. You really kind of put my mind at ease a little bit and said, no, if you get your hooks in, you're going to be able to stand up much more vertically than you actually realize, because you're used to training on a different system. And that kind of shifted my focus a little bit in my training. And sure enough, the day of, it was true. So I just wanted to, take this opportunity to thank you, because that was a great piece of advice for me, and it really helped.
No worries. Again, I feel like I often say to people, if you can pick up a 140 kilo Cerberus Húsafell sandbag and carry it 40 meters, you will give the real stone a good run for its money, because the real stone is beautiful to lift, especially when you have it the big baby orientation, because it's just cradled there. It's going nowhere. the handles feel so good. And yeah, I can usually look at someone based on their body composition and tell you the best way that I would recommend them to lift the stone. You know, it's it's something that I've geeked out that much about now that I'm almost like, yeah, I'm just seeing Húsafell sandbags in my sleep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Those are gross too. I had a strongman competition I was volunteering for, and so they were doing Húsafell carry, and it was a 315-pound Húsafell sandbag, and the event organizers wanted the athletes to pick it up off the top of a keg because they didn't want them to have to expend the energy to actually pick it up. And so when the event started, they're like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to roll the sandbag onto this sheet, and then we're going to pick it up and we're going to like leverage it over. And I said, that's just ridiculous. And so on that competition day, when it was too hard for everyone to pick up the sandbag for the actual athletes, I picked it up 22 times, a 315er, and had to put it back on.
Didn't you get like the athlete of the event award or something like that? And you weren't even competing.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
You had to huck that thing so
They're
bad.
awkward is the point I'm getting at.
Yeah, and that to be fair, it's my favorite bag. I've got the whole set over there, 100 all the way up to 180, and the 140 kilo or the 310 pound or 315 pound sandbag for me is the best bag for anyone that's looking to do the actual Húsafell stone. It's the best training bag. If you need to work up to that bag, get the 100 first, the 120, 140. But if you can pick up that 140 and carry it for 35 meters, you're almost ready to take on the stone, because the awkwardness of a sandbag, I feel like, will always be that bit more difficult than a stone. Although there's a bit of a weight between the 140 bag and the 186 stone. It definitely, I think, is a great indicator for someone that's looking to train for the Húsafell as a benchmark.
Yeah, we've touched on where you're at now with your most recent lift and almost doing the full 2 laps. And no doubt that 2 laps is within your grasp, and we'll probably see that when you go there again in June, which will be your 4th visit to Húsafell. Take us back to that first visit. I know you said you had sort of just started stone lifting. You hadn't even seen the full Stricker documentary. What was your mindset going in? Like, were you losing sleep? Was it something that you thought you'd be able to do? Or were you just kind of like, I'm going to go and tangle with this massive stone and see what happens?
Well, I had actually ordered a Húsafell sandbag from Cerberus a month before. I ordered the 160 kilo sandbag, and I had picked that up, although it took me 20 seconds to get it to lap, and I carried it for 35 meters. So I think in my mind, I thought to myself, if I can get this stone off the floor, I believe I've got the capability to carry it. But again, I was excited. I was nervous. There was a lot of emotions going through my mind. But again, still very naive. Like, I didn't really understand the magnitude of it properly. Like, I knew about it. But me and Rory, I'll never forget that first trip to Iceland. Me and my friend Rory just both packed our kilts. We jumped in a little Suzuki Jimny, and we were just tearing it about Iceland. We went to Dripvik the first day, and we both managed to get that stone up. It was hilarious because we turned up to the beach, and there's a man there taking photos of the beach, a professional photographer, and he saw us get our kilts out and stuff, and he kind of laughed at us when we said that we're planning on lifting the big stone. He was with his partner, and he said, "Oh, do you mind if I stop to film you guys or take photos?" And I said, "No, that's fine." But his partner says, "Look, they're not going to lift it. Just leave." Anyway, so he started walking away, and we done like a few warm-up lifts, and it turns out that he turned round and actually started taking photos of us. So he came back down to watch us lift or attempt the Dripvik stone. Funny thing is, his name was Brian Shaw from America. He wasn't the Brian Shaw, but
you would have known. You're a photographer, a bear with a camera.
One of the best strongman ever. So that was a good omen. But yeah, me and Rory both got the Dripvik stone up to chest that day. Again, I clasped it off the floor because that's what I was doing back then. Again, after that, we went for a hike. We actually rescued an old woman that got stuck.
Oh boy.
Which is quite wild, the magnitude of it hadn't really set in. We didn't really realize what we had done because we were still very naive. We were just going in with nothing to lose. We'd only been stone lifting for 6 months, only a couple of stone tours behind us. we went back to the hostel that night and got involved in the live entertainment. You know, I don't consume alcohol that much, but I had some red wine that night, and I was on the piano. Rory was on the guitar. We got promised by the guy that ran the hostel that there would be a crowd of 40 or 50 people coming in for a party sort of thing. I think there was 7 people, including me and Rory, and the other 3 were employees. So there was only 2 other guys there. But you know what? We made the most of it. We had a fun night. And I just remember waking up the next day and we're both on kind of like death's door, hungover. And it's like, right, let's go to Húsafell then.
Oh,
so we,
Before we get
we
to
drove
Húsafell, hold on. You kind of glossed over because I think as a firefighter, maybe saving people's lives doesn't really jump out as like an odd occurrence for you. But how fortunate for this lady that here comes 2 recently anointed full sturker human beings to come into her rescue. So what happened there?
Oh, so she had. So it's when you leave Driftvik Beach to the left. There's this really cool walk that goes up a mountain, and it's up a stream. It's easy enough to walk up, but getting back down is difficult. So the lady must have been about 70-year-old, and she just had issues getting back down. So me and Rory were passing her, you know, taking her arm, helping her down. He'd go down, just getting her back down to the bottom, back to the path. It was nothing crazy or anything like that. But she was from the States, and she was very thankful of that. But again, quite funny to be like going and picking up a Driftvik stone, you know, which historically we see you need to be really big and strong to pick up, to then go for a hike, you know, and not even think about what we have just achieved. Because I think at that point only 2 Scottish men had actually picked the stone up, Jamie Gorey
really?
and Andy Kearney. So we were the 3rd and 4th.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Húsafell, you guys
Complacent,
are,
like
yeah, you guys are a little hungover. You're still sort of not fully aware of the magnitude of the stone that you had just lifted, being full sturker Driftvik, and the one you're contending with, which is, you know, a world-renowned feat of strength. What was it like when you first walked up to that stone and laid your eyes on it?
Yeah, it was really intimidating. Like it's I'd never carried a stone before. It was just I wasn't nervous for whatever reason. I wasn't overly nervous with Driftvik because I thought to myself, if I at that point I hadn't tasted defeat yet. I clasped Arbolic, I clasped a few stones. I felt like if I could clasp it, I could move it. Once I get it into lap, I would be able to stand up with it. But the Húsafell stone definitely intimidated me because of the weight, because I just thought to myself, this is like 30 kilos more than the Driftvik. But back then, I didn't realize that you were picking it when it's standing up. So you're not getting it straight from the floor. I attempted to pick it up. You saw what I was doing, some sort of funky over-under, like deadlift sort of thing. And it came up to my lap and I was spinning it about. But I just remember going on to YouTube and finding a clip on YouTube. I should really remember the man's name. He's in his jeans. He's got a white top on. He's got a beard, black hair. And I saw him pick it up kind of big baby style on its side. So I said to Rory, you know what? I'm going to try it this way.
Big beard, Nick
And the
Whalen.
lift-
Yeah,
It'd be Nick Whalen. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Long beard.
Yeah, he kind of
Big
looks like
muscular guy?
King Leonidas.
Yeah, that's Nick Whalen. Yeah, he's actually, we've
well-
had him on the podcast, an incredible researcher. He's helped find over 60 historical stones across Scandinavia. So,
Oh,
yeah.
incredible. Well,
He is.
Nick Whalen's the video that I saw on YouTube, and I'd seen him carry it, and I thought I'm going to try it that way. So we're trying to figure out the ridges of the stone and things like that. So we positioned it, and then first go big baby style came up to lap, and I took it a lap and a quarter and started shouting easy at the top of my lungs because I got overly excited. And yeah, I just remember the energy after that, and I was like, right, Rory, it's your turn now. And Rory took it for a spin as well, and it was just incredible, absolutely incredible. Like again, my first trip to Iceland has probably been the most special trip that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And it is in those moments when you achieve something that you've thought about, and then you see your friend achieve the goal at the same day. It's like you can probably properly double celebrate, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we hear you there.
Yeah. Part
Yeah.
of the
Well,
beauty of
you guys had it. You guys had it obviously in Iceland as well at the Húsafell, because you can hear it in your voice when
Yeah.
you're
Pretty
watching each other
happy.
going in. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a interesting experience because we were there and it was actually Father's Day. Both being fathers of young kids, you know, you leave them to go on these trips. And so that in and of itself is a sacrifice because you miss them. It's also a sacrifice for your family, look after them while, you know, you're away. but I called my wife to tell my boys, like, hey guys, daddy did it. And David was there as well. And my parents happened to be there at the same time. So we're also telling our mom and dad that we had kind of gone and done the thing that we had set out. And my dad had essentially said, like, it's the best Father's Day gift anyone could ever give. So it was 3 generations of Nisbet boys having this moment. And it was, that's what makes stonelifting so special, right? It's not just, what you
Yeah.
achieve. It's what you achieve, but who you do it with. There's so much more wrapped into it than just the actual
Oh, yeah.
physical version, the feat of
Yeah.
strength.
Every time I go over it, I always have my kids draw me a little picture, like a good luck picture. So I'll send it to you guys later on. I've got a picture of me standing beside the Húsafell with that picture that my kids drew.
That's awesome.
And I kind of always keep it tucked to my kilt before I go for my attempt, sort of thing. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
and again, we all use different things to think about when we're doing the lift, and I'm definitely thinking about my kids to kind of motivate me to go that wee extra bit.
Mhm.
Oh man. So what's next? I know you got a trip to Iceland coming up, but you have been advancing so quickly. Is there any, I know going back to the Húsafell is going to be great for you, but is there any other goals in particular that you have?
Well, at the moment, I'm training with my friend Johnny Muir and Russell McIntyre. I don't know if you've seen me share Russell lately, my friend
I
Russell.
believe so. Did you do a story the other day with that?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think I
he
know who
is
you're talking
honestly,
about.
yeah, he is on fire right now. So last time we went to Iceland, Russell, his back was injured, so he couldn't really do much. I lifted the Húsafell onto a rock for him and let him pick it up, and he took it around the lap, but he couldn't bend over to tie his shoe, so he couldn't pick it up. So this time, he's going for it this time. So the other day, he flipped a 160 replica and stood it up like it was nothing. So he's 86 kilos of body weight. Again, similar to me, similar to Andy Crawford, just trained stones and bags. Doesn't do any sort of deadlifts or any sort of powerlifting stuff. So he basically trains the exact same way I train. So I'm super excited to see him at the Húsafell Pen. Same with my friend Johnny Muir as well. Going back to the cricket, definitely. There's chats of the start of May. John, Travel Lift Stones Repeat, is possibly coming over to attempt it.
Okay, yeah, right on.
So we'd love to get some cricket action. When I went down last time, I clasped it from the floor and attempted to clasp stand up. This time I will row it from the floor and attempt to stand up like a row, because again, those dragon stones from Atlas Endurance have totally leveled me up with the roll. Like I would never before have attempted to roll some of the stones that I've rolled since those dragon stones have came into play. I feel like if any implement, sandbag, Atlas stone, the dragon stone for me has been the biggest game changer, not only for me but for Johnny and for Russell as well, because we've got a full set there, 130, 140, 160, and then obviously the 180 that you guys have maybe seen.
That's so awesome.
huge.
They look so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, they're unreal, guys. If you ever come over, you'll need to try them. They're
absolutely
just gnarly as anything.
They're such a great implement too, because as opposed to Atlas stones that are almost perfectly spherical, like as you've seen, most natural stones will have a long axis, right? So when they're sitting in a body of water, they have water rushing around them and streams and things like that. They are getting shaped with a long axis. And so having those dragon stones, like they simulate natural stones far better than an Atlas stone.
Yeah, and my first the first one I got was a 162, and it was a training stone for the cricket. That was the whole reason I got it. After I went down to the cricket stone, I contacted Stephen at Alps Endurance for me, and I said to him, look, I want something that I can use to train for one of the, in my opinion, the cricket stone, and Ryan Stewart agrees, the cricket stone for me is like one of the spookiest natural stones out there. I think the last man to get a proper good stand up on chest was Ryan Stewart a couple of years ago. And that you can't really say that about many other stones, apart from the Pat Gill stone that they've done. There's not many stones out there that you can say that have not been chested for a couple of years. Andy had an amazing attempt at it. He's been down twice. Last time he went down, though, it was 32 degrees. Like the chalk was just melting on him. It was terrible conditions. But I know Andy for sure. Andy will get that on his shoulder.
Yeah.
He just needs to figure out.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I was down there last April with Andy and Matt Jones, and what a session that was, guys. It was
No kidding.
unbelievable. We actually had John turn up from Valgrave Strength Trips.
Yeah.
Oh
The
yeah.
energy that day was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Just bouncing off of Andy and Matt was surreal. Absolutely surreal. That stone is something else, man. Like something else. If you guys get a chance to come over to have a crack at that, it is. I've never felt anything like that in my lap. I lapped it with a clasp, so it was kind of vertical in lap. And I swear that thing feels like it's on a pinpoint. Although it's quite wide, I feel like it can go at any moment.
Wow.
When I was trying to extend with the clasp, I felt like there was like an invisible wall. So I got it up just, you can still see my chin. So I kind of stood up, but I didn't get like a proper, I always like to get a big extension.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, I feel like I came to there and like it just stopped. Like it was just like this invisible wall sort of thing. And I've never felt that before with a stone. That's what intrigues me so much about it. And I'll definitely be back down there this year, just before Iceland, to have another go at it.
Hey,
For people who aren't familiar with the cricket stone, what is the weight?
It's 177.5 kilograms.
And nearly spherical. Like that is.
Yeah, it's almost. It's got a flat side at the bottom. It's got a little crack on one side.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild.
yeah, that thing scares me, man. I want nothing to do with that.
Dave, you honestly, I think you will do really well with it. Really well.
I hope there's a time where I'm actually able to go give it a try. It would take a lot of dedicated training, but that's the fun of all this stuff too. But it is a gnarly stone, and getting it as high as you did is just incredible. So well done, and look forward to this next attempt. And for Andy too, like if he can shoulder that, that's just unbelievable. But he would definitely be the guy to do it.
You both strike us as well. Strike everyone's the kind of people that when you set a goal, it's not like an if, it's just only a matter of time until it happens. So. Yeah,
I feel like with Andy, anything goes past this level, Andy is going to get it to shoulder. I've yet to see him not get something that he gets past there. So it's just going to be figuring out that getting it up to that extension. And one person I would have loved to have seen in their prime was Big John Gibb. I would have loved to see him take on that stone, because I feel like John Gibb in his prime would have taken that off the floor and stood up with it with a clasp extension, just like Ryan Stewart did. So I know John's on the road to recovery just now, though you'd never guess, lifting with him a few weeks ago, he was doing like Coke can pickups of the 100-kilo sandbag like it was nothing. Like
you hear that, John? Liam said you're not in your prime anymore.
Oh, I mean, like John is. I know for a fact that John is going to be back up there once he gets through this recovery.
There's no doubt.
But I mean, an injured John Gibbs still recovering from injury is still a force to be reckoned with. The way he was moving that 100-kilo sandbag to shoulder, he literally Coke can one motioned it quicker than any of us could get it to shoulder. So
unbelievable.
He's
an absolute incredible lifter, and again, a lot of John's lifting styles as well have inherited, the row to lap, or sometimes he would row a stone but actually flip it as he's rowing it to lap. It's incredible. If you watch his lift of the Hellhound stone at the gathering last year, and this was with his sore wrist, he literally rows the stone but flips it to the vertical as it lands into lap. Then he'll clasp, extend, but he doesn't even bump. He just extends and it's there. I couldn't dream of doing that with a stone. Like it's phenomenal. Yeah, but I like to almost mimic some lifters like John and Ryan Stewart.
Of course.
Are two lifters that I'm probably mimicking the most. Again, you and Andy, Dave, with the shoulder and a level that I'll never get to, but I'm more than happy with that because
I think you will, man. You're so strong.
I think the shoulder for me, anything over 150 kilos for me starts to get woozy, but I'm happy at that.
What do you find holds you up?
But I'm quite happy at that level. Again, the longer stones suit me more, kind of similar to sandbags. I definitely struggle with more circular stones, but I'll keep working on it though. I'll keep working on it. I'm enjoying this journey.
Oh, you'll be getting heavy stuff to shoulder with your strength and your dedication, man. It just takes time for that one. It's an ugly thing to do.
I think it's something cool about stone lifting though, is because there's such a variability in natural stones, but also variability in the way in which you can lift them.
Yeah.
They're sort of, you have reached a level of carrying that most human beings can't even dream about. So it's just there's different body types, different endurance thresholds lend themselves to different kinds of lifting and stone lifting.
Yeah,
You can
definitely.
find an approach that is not perfect for you, but maybe is a bit more appropriate for where your strengths are. And you're you're a carrying machine that, like very few human beings have ever been. So
Yeah, definitely. I've done a lot of volume on the carries. Again, it carries over, no pun intended, to firefighting
Hey-o.
quite well. But yeah, one thing I've always found quite impressive with Dave though is Dave being a leaner lifter himself, because getting some of these bigger stones to shoulder without the power belly, I feel sometimes. I feel like sometimes not having a power belly makes it a bit more difficult to shoulder.
As much as we joke about the power belly, it is a tool for those that have it.
Yeah, because I almost feel like if you're a leaner lifter and like with a decent set of pecs on you, when you kind of pull that stone into you, it almost forces it outwards at the top. Whereas if you had something out here, but then again, you can't have it all. You can't have it all. And
No.
again, we're all different shapes and sizes. I find it fascinating. A bit like yourself, Michael Brown. I don't know if you guys have seen much of his lifting, but my goodness.
He's so strong at everything. He's insane.
My goodness. So I'm sure you just put a post up before I came on where he done a 172 stone to chest 8 times from the lap. Just repped it 8 times. He is pound for pound one of the most impressive stone lifters I've ever seen.
Holy, 172 kilo for 8?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And he's wild. When you get him together and Andy up at Andy's, my goodness,
Moldy
the
Shed
energy.
crew.
The energy is unreal, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, because it's sessions like that where you really get the best out of each other. When you're in that environment where everyone wants to see each other succeed, and that's what I think is quite good about the stone lifting community just now, especially in Scotland. Like, there's not many guys out there that aren't out there that are not kind of going to be rooting for you as well as themselves. Like I've trained with a lot of cool guys. There's big Ross McIntosh. I'm sure you know who he is.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. He's, again, I've had him along to the garage a few times. I've had Peteris below this. He was Britain's strongest stone lifter last year. He has to duck to come into the garage. He's gone into strongman at the moment. The man's about 7 foot tall, an absolute monster, but all just real gentlemen, really, really nice guys. And again, it's Scottish stone lifting at the moment is so strong. Like we've got so many nice, competent lifters, and it's good to see.
Yeah. It's something that we didn't get a chance to touch on with Alyssa Ages, because when you talk about sort of that hype and lifting with friends and you kind of get the best out of each other in her book, The Secrets of Giants, she talks about that there's an actual measurable physiological response to lifting around people that you are comfortable with and that you care about, that your body actually allows you to unlock an additional level of strength when you are around lifting with friends. And it's something that we all experience when you talk about going on a stone tour or even in a competition. Like you're like, oh, you just have this extra gear, but it's actually an innate human quality that for whatever reason, whether it was because when you're around people you care about and they were in a time of need, you had to be able to dig to this other level with this depth of strength that you didn't add. There is actually a measurable effect on your strength output when you're around people that you care about. So
yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, whenever I lift around like Johnny or Russ or Brett or John, I always feel like I will perform better. And again, some of the sessions I've had with Andy Crawford as well have been absolutely incredible. I like to bring the hype. I like to shout and scream a wee bit, maybe a wee bit too much. The Fergus Crawley's lift of the Húsafell stone, I think it's hit 2 million views. And there was calls of people wanting me to be their alarm clock, telling them to move.
Hire you to be their hype man. Yeah.
Funny.
Oh yeah, that's such an awesome video though. Yeah,
so it'll be the same. The only thing is, this year I think there's 6 of us going to the Húsafell pen, so I think I'm going to lose my voice at the Húsafell pen. So whoever's first up to carry or get the most hype, I think by the second person I'll be using hand signals because I'll be like, yeah, I get a tad excited, but I feed off that energy. I feed off other people doing well. It makes me more amped up and makes me perform better. And I feel like when you're in that right environment, like you say, everyone bounces off of each other and they get the best out of each other. It's just very special.
Yeah. On the Fergus Crawley topic as well, someone who has had an incredibly storied and varied athletic career, someone who can deadlift 500 pounds and run a 5-minute mile in the same session. Like, just
freaky.
when you talk about hybrid athletes, like he's one of them that are up there at the pinnacle of the world. But it's so cool to know that for someone who has achieved as much as he has, he holds his lift of the Húsafell as, his favorite accomplishment that he's ever done. Like, that might be hard for someone from the outside looking in that has seen what he's done in athletics and triathlons and running and things like that, to be like, how? But having been there and done that lift, you kind of understand. But it just sort of speaks to what a sort of magnificent passion stone lifting is, that someone like him can be so touched by a lift of the Húsafell stone.
Yeah, and Fergus has brought a lot of spotlight onto stone lifting. The first Dinny Stone video I saw was Fergus Crawley's Dinny Stone video. And again, we all saw the video that he done on Iceland when he went out there in the snowstorm and couldn't find the Húsafell. Then attempted to lift the stone that he thought was a Húsafell. And you know what? He's the first guy to laugh about it, because I didn't know when he sent me the videos, the conditions were that bad. I was like, oh, it might be, it might not be. But yeah, you know what? He put his money where his mouth was, and he booked it. And there was probably a lot of people doubting him. But when we had that workout here, I said to him, I'm confident that you have the ability to do this. So based on that, he spent a fair amount of cash to fly us all out over there. Me, his photographer, and himself. And by the way, photographer Jacob Murray, absolutely incredible. He's the guy that done the drone footage and everything at the Húsafell pen. Absolutely incredible photographer. He went over there and, you know what, faced adversity the first few times, first few attempts, wanted to get the row, probably looked in too much to what people would say about, the rowing, it's the proper way. Stopped him at 2 attempts in a row, because I said to him, like, I'm not wanting you to blow your load here. And I think it was his 3rd attempt flipping it, is that viral video when you see it comes up and he's like, oh shit, rotates, and then continues to take it for a lap and a half. I mean, the first time he's moving with a stone, incredible. I don't know how I never fell over. He had given me this DJI cam, and I felt so much pressure that I had to keep him in the frame while screaming at him. Running backwards, having just done my carry before, so my legs were a bit jellied, but no, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I could, my voice was echoing off the mountains in the distance. Again, a very special moment to help him be part of this journey. And again, like you say, the respect that he showed that feat of strength by saying all the incredible things that he's done, for that to be one of his proudest achievements, just goes to show you how much it means.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just on the concept of leveraging it not being the right way, is I don't know if that's even entirely accurate. If anybody's listening to this and wanted to leverage it up, that's the way that they used to traditionally do it when they would go for a carry, was they would leverage it up. That's even in the Full Circle documentary with the landowner. The traditional way, if you're saying I'm carrying the Húsafell, leveraging it is completely fine. If you want to say you lifted the Húsafell and leverage it up, that's a different conversation. But when you're having the intent to carry the Húsafell stone, leveraging it up is the historical way. So don't sleep on that. That's legit for anybody listening. There's no shame in doing that whatsoever.
Me personally, I find it more impressive if I saw someone like Thor manage to implement the flip technique, because I'd say to myself, well, that's great mobility. But yeah, in the documentary, the man talks about how they used to do it onto the single leg. So I can flip it to both legs, or I can flip it to my left leg or my right leg. Again, there will be people out there on Reddit that will say that's not the proper way to do it. There's certain people in stone lifting that tell you that there's only one way to lift a stone. But personally, from an efficiency point of view, I would save more energy flipping it onto my leg, rotating it for the carry, than I would be rowing it to lap. But again, we all use our tools, if you're strong enough to do it, then row it. If you've got great mobility, go for the flip.
Yeah. do what you have to in the day of. Like my back was so messed up, I couldn't pick it, quote unquote Húsafell style. So I had to pick it flat from the ground because that's all I had
Yeah,
that day.
I've not seen many people do it that way. That was insane to see as well. Because I mean, based on how easy it moved flat from the floor, I think if you were to have that standard Húsafell pick, I think it would almost one motion to your chest.
Yeah, I found it easier that day with a beat up back from a lot of things, but yeah, it felt good that day. And that's it. You never know, especially on a stone trip, how your body's going to feel. So you have to work with what you have at that time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
We talked about it at length with Sandra Bradley too, who is, widely regarded, and we agree as the women's GOAT, as Ryan Stewart likes to call her, and maybe one of the most technical stone lifters in the world. Like when you see at the OSG, she had back injuries and she was doing the stone run. The mobility she had, the position she was putting herself in to try to get successful lifts, like it's unbelievable creativity. But the discussion with her was have a wide and deep toolkit, because you never know what the circumstances will be, whether with your body, with your energy, like who knows, injury, that you don't want to limit yourself by saying in a very rigid manner, I'm going to lift it this way and that's the only way, because you might be robbing yourself of an incredible experience of getting a successful lift, whatever that might mean to you, if you were to open up the options that are available to you. And with stone lifting, the options can be pretty much infinite. So
yeah, Sandra is an incredible lifter. I got to see her at the Donald Dinny Day last year, and again, watching her lift stones is incredible. You can just tell she understands how they move. Sometimes when you see someone pick up a stone, and it lands in their lap, and they'll go for an extension, and they're all hands everywhere. Like that they're not understanding how that stone moves. But with Sandra, she just knows. She knows where to put her hands. And I know for a fact that she flips and rotates the Húsafell, she will take it a full lap. It's quite funny because she was the first woman to obviously pick up the Arbolic stone. And I had a chuckle because I sent her a message last year, maybe like 8 months before it happened, saying you will be the first woman to pick up the Arbolic stone, based on how she picked up the full Sterker.
Sure.
And then, right enough, she made that stone look so easy, like so incredibly easy. A stone that I think for the first time in 2017 or 18, it came off the floor. Someone told me that. Yeah, someone told me that was only, I think Andy Kearney was the first man to stand up with that stone, and they put it to his shoulder.
Yeah, he's a very strong man.
Yeah.
But
oh my goodness, like
yeah,
he is like stone lifted royalty. Seeing some of his lifts back in the day is unbelievable. Just the way he just front squats stones up, it blows my mind.
Yeah, pure power. And just to finish with Sandra, is that she's an incredible lifter, but also I just want to give her credit for being a stone lifting advocate as well. Hearing her talk at that level on those stages when she's being interviewed, she just brings so much positivity to this community, and she knows how to treat the stones with the respect that they deserve. And it's just, she just deserves a lot of credit is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, just a great representation of the stone lifting community. Like just positive, helpful, and just really nice person.
She is.
Yeah. Awesome. So I got a question for you, because, Maximum Iron had their stone lifting competition that the awards haven't been given out or anything like that. But obviously you were someone who is a front runner for the best, new stone lifter, I believe was what the category was. Maybe if you could sort of give us 5 pointers for new lifters who see what you have done and what you do and the level you've gotten to so quickly. What are 5 key pieces of advice that you would give them if they want to try to emulate some of the success that you've had?
Well, don't be afraid to train with stones and sandbags exclusively. Like a lot of people will tell you that you have to do a deadlift, you have to do a squat. I believe strength is a skill as well. I could be leaving things on the table by not incorporating barbell movements more, but for me personally, I feel like they tax my central nervous system more, which then reduces the frequency I can do these implements. So yeah, don't be afraid to exclusively train with the likes of stones and bags, and surround yourself with people that are also of a similar mindset. So myself, Russell, and Johnny, we're out here 3 times a week, rooting each other on, deeply invested in each other's training and lifts as much as we are our own, because again, you will get the best out of yourself. And again, don't be scared to fail. You know, like if you get yourself, I've got a 160 kilo Atlas stone sitting staring at me right there over the corner. And I've yet to get that to chest. I mean, I've yet to get to lap. I've got a few inches off the floor. But, you know, its time will come. I'll come out, I give it a pull every couple of weeks. It's severely polished. It's like a ball of glass. But I don't let it get me in my head because, again, I've showed a few of my fails on Instagram. You know, I almost flat myself on that yoke with a 180 kilo Dragonstone. Don't let a failed rep affect you. Never react negatively to it because I feel like it can start to get into your head. And always, I think further on the toolbox is learn to lift different ways. Don't just lift your sandbag up one same way. Like, you know, if you find it easy doing a specific type of lift, you might find that you always go for the easy option. If you find it difficult to roll the sandbag, roll it up. Just don't limit yourself to one specific type of way of lifting a stone or a sandbag, because again, you will come across a stone one day, like I did, that I wasn't able to clasp, which forced me then to develop my row. That's one mistake I made at the start. I think going clasp heavy to begin with was great. You know, I did get success in our Volk and the Dritvik, but I did come across a stone one day that I couldn't clasp. So yeah, broaden the toolbox. Keep doing different types of lifts. And number 5 is how far a good night's sleep and proper nutrition will go. Again, I don't show it too much on social media, but I'm getting a solid 8 hours every night. I'm eating a very clean diet. I touch alcohol twice a year. You know, I'm not a big alcohol drinker. I choose to live like this because I like the benefits that I get in the gym. I know I'm not saying for people not to consume alcohol or not to, you know, have treats now and then. But if I try and eat a clean diet 80% of the time, I will perform better. So yeah, recovery. If you recover as hard as you train, you know, I feel like the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit.
It certainly is for you. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if there is a limit, man. Yeah, from what we've seen so far with you, Liam.
No,
Awesome.
definitely. I mean, I'm just enjoying myself, guys. You know, it's quite surreal. Like a year and a half ago, I would be cycling to the station listening to your podcast.
Oh, no.
That's very nice, man.
It's wild to think that I'm sitting here chatting to you now. Like this all began 2 years in March. I got my first sandbag. So yeah, we're not even 2 years in. I was a 100 kilo sandbag. And now I'm surrounded by 5 tons of stones and sandbags sitting on a podcast speaking to you guys. It's very surreal to have in this small little space, you know. It's wild. And again, special shout out to all the people that have supported me on this journey. You know, Stephen from Atlas Endurance only lives 20 minutes along the road. My training partners, Russell McIntyre and Johnny Muir. You know, the boys I'm away to Iceland with, you'll see lots of pictures of them. Big Ewan Anderson is 7 foot tall. Max and Dave, you know, it's great. Stone lifting and its community in Scotland at the moment is absolutely incredible. And it's got lots of amazing characters. And yeah, I just feel very blessed to be able to share this with people and help them. Just help them along their journey.
The pleasure is ours, honestly, being able to share stories, you know, and highlight people like you and what you do and your story is exactly why we do this. So the pleasure is ours, and we were super excited to have you on. So
yeah, man.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, boys. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, where can people find you?
Instagram, liam.brown2. It's really the only platform that I'm on. You'll find me in my red pants. Summer's coming, guys, so the red pants will be up more.
we love the toque, though. The toque is the Cerberus toque is awesome.
It is.
In Scotland, you call it a toque or you call it a beanie?
Beanie, yeah. But
it's a beanie there? Okay, yeah.
Because even times like your shirt's off and you still got your Cerberus beanie on. It's awesome. It's like your signature look now.
Yeah, it's literally in this garage. It's probably about 1 degree Celsius right now.
Nice.
I'm putting a brave face on, but like
I train in a cold garage too. I hear you.
Yeah, and there's something about it. Like the beanie's like my superpower. But again, I always prefer to do
Pass that
bags and
one.
stones, like just skin showing. That's
Yep.
another thing I should have kind of said to people to begin with. When I was doing stones and sandbags, I would, as a leaner lifter, I would still have like a t-shirt on and clothing on, but I feel like a lot of people leave extra gains on the table by having all that slippage from clothes.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm always bare chested. And again, like a shout out from Dale when he told me about to try the Húsafell without the grip top. I don't think I'll ever do it with a grip top again. I just love that feeling of being connected to the stone, bare chested.
Yes.
It almost felt better than the grip top, to be fair, because I feel like a grip top can sometimes slip a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's interesting, and maybe this is a bit of a. It's not something that we've talked about on the podcast, and we don't want it to be a controversial thing. It's more so just a discussion that happens in the community. But with all of these fantastic strength implements and equipment coming into stone lifting, there is almost becoming a bit of a separation between, equipped and unequipped lifting. And a lot of people love natural stone lifting because it's you against the raw, unaltered stone. And so sometimes, there's people in the community that are utmost purists, and they're like, you lift the stone naked in the form and fashion in which it was lifted, paint yourself blue and lift it in the form and fashion in which it was done historically. And there are people that are of the mindset where you do whatever you need to do to get the successful lift, whether that is wearing a grip shirt or tacky or whatever. And then most of us fall sort of somewhere in between those things. And so when you had those fantastic lifts with the Húsafell, I just thought, like, you made it look so easy that I would never want anyone to have the ability to detract from what you've done by saying, oh, well, he was in a grip shirt. And then you went and lifted it without a grip shirt and did nearly 2 laps and made it look as easy as any human being's ever done. So
you ran with it.
Yeah,
pretty
kudos
much,
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing lifting, obviously topless and without a grip top. When it's a trip like Iceland, when you have a lot of other stones, like I would hate to limit myself, from scrapes and bleeding and things like that. But one thing I swear by these days, and I would recommend to anyone that's looking to do high volume stones, it was actually an idea I got from Andy. So Andy will wear almost like shin guards on his thighs, because obviously the stones that he's lifting are so heavy that, and at the volume that he does it, he was bruising his thighs. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to get myself a pair of the Cerberus hybrid pants, strongman pants. I'm not sure if you've seen them before.
I'm familiar with them, yeah.
They're kind of high-waisted. Well, I got an extra large in those, so they're quite baggy, but what they do is they give you kind of 9 millimeters of protection on the thighs. So I wear them, and I wear a pair of the Cerberus track pants, and that kind of protects my skin from cuts and abrasions. If I am doing natural stones, some bigger, jaggier stones, because that's one thing that did take a bit of an adjustment when I did start taking this, doing stone lifting, was I used to lift bare thigh with my kilt on, and my goodness, for like a week after, the bruises and the cuts and everything like that were almost becoming a limiting factor at how frequent I could lift stones. But back then I didn't have stones in the garage, no natural stones in the garage, so it was only stone lifting tours that I would actually be touching them. But now that I have a large selection of natural stones now, if I want to train them as frequently as I do need to protect that lower half. But yeah, really recommend those hybrid pants by Cerberus for that.
Like a knee sleeve for your hips, basically, right?
Pretty much. And you know what's great for getting a slightly bigger size? You're maybe not getting that pop like a deadlift suit from it, but it is protecting your lower half. It's keeping the hips warm. So a good one as well for people that are going over to Iceland, because obviously being super cold, if you're standing about the Húsafell pen waiting for your goal or a stone lifting site, you don't want to kind of get too cold. So again, it gives you that sort of thermal protection as well. So I think all the lads that we're going to Iceland with in January will probably get June. Sorry, will get a set.
The Cerberus army's coming to Iceland.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing the fantastic lifts that come out of that trip, as well as all the fantastic lifts in your future, including a full extension of the cricket stone, which we know is in the cards for you, and probably very, very soon. So thank you so much, Liam.
Thanks,
we
man.
really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please be so kind as to leave the show a review, and then follow us over on Instagram at stonesofstrength_podcast.